What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well. How are you this fine day?
I'm ready to talk about the game, well, not really the game of the year 2025, but almost a game of year 2025. So we'll get to that soon.
Yeah.
Strap in, everybody.
Strap in. It's going to be a good one. And you can listen to us talk about the good ones and the ones we hate and everything in between here on Team Chat Podcast each and every week whenever we release episodes on a weekly basis. And you can listen to those on podcast services around the World Wide Web, such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and others. You can also watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below, where you'll also find links for our social media and a link to our Discord server where you can chat with us there when we're not here recording the show. And also, you can head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like Allison H, Fuchsia, Ark, Brandon W, Bro Mogan, Ace Jokai, Erica L, Elise F, Michael B, Michael S, Snooty Boots, Susan M, and Zach S have done. They have headed over there to support the show for as little as $1 a month. And in return, we give them cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general weekly release and access to a patron exclusive show, Team Chit Chat, where Mogan and I just shoot the shit about stuff not related to video games.
We also just like them more.
Yeah.
We'll say it.
That's true. That's true. They're just our special
They're
fans.
just our special little boys and girls. Should we send them t-shirts that say Team Chat Special Little Boys and Girls?
Yes, we absolutely should.
Perhaps one of the worst ideas I've ever had.
I feel like that gives me a pass for a few now
So
that I've had.
patrons, let us know when you hear this
Would
if
you
you're
like
into that.
But if you can't do that, that's no big deal at all. We totally understand, and you can support the show for free and get the good word of Team Chat out to the masses by telling your friends, writing us reviews, sharing the episodes, of course, and, just chatting about us with your friends. That helps. That gets the good word out there. And for that, we're appreciative, grateful, and thankful for each and every single one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike.
Heart emoji.
Emojis.
XOXO smooches.
XOXO. And before we get into the main topic of the day, let's get a little bit of news and what's coming out soon.
Yes, let's blast through this. All right, I am actually not entirely certain if this is true. If it is, that's actually big news to me because as of this episode's release date, Mio, Memories in Orbit, one of the games that I said I was actually the most excited about for 2026, it might actually be out. According to the list I'm looking at, it came out on January 20th. I can only assume that is true. If it's not, I've been lied to.
That's today.
Yeah,
let me just do a quick little search.
For me. If it is out, then it's out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, Switch, and PC. Mio Memories in Orbit is one of those Metroidvanias, not unlike the game we're going to talk about today. But I didn't realize it was coming out so soon. I thought it was still kind of a squishy release date for 2026.
It's out. So, add to cart.
Oh my God. Okay. Jeez.
Well, know what you're doing when you get home.
I guess so, but I just started. We'll get to it. Anyway, so don't miss Mio. I feel like that game has a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to get my mitts on it. Silt is out for iOS and Android. That is silt as in the sediment that pools at the ends of rivers and river deltas, silty soil. Yes. Anyways, that's out for iOS and Android. I don't know what it is. I like the name, though. Sounds cool. TR49 is out for PC, Mac, and iOS on the 21st. Arknight's Endfield is out for PS5, PC, iOS, and Android. Dynasty Warriors Origins. I know some people are always into the Dynasty Warriors games. This is the Switch 2 release. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is also getting its Xbox Series X and S and Switch 2 ports. Hermit and Pig is out for PC on the 22nd. Perfect Tides, Station to Station is out for Switch and PC on the 22nd as well. Then on the 23rd, we've got Escape from Ever After for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. A little bit later this month, kind of closing us out, we've got High Guard for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Do you know this game?
High Guard is the one that closed out Game Awards last year.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually okay. Let's chat about this for just a hot minute because this is one. It's the last.
Is this one of those things that when I looked at the trailer in my mind, I said that's a Jarrett game? Is this just one of those obvious Jarrett games?
It's. I'm just making sure this is the right thing. Yes. Okay. So basically, this is the game that they showed the trailer for it. It's very much just like a hero shooter game that we've seen before. But the thing about it is that the last spot, basically the one more thing spot at the Game Awards is handpicked by Jeff Keighley. They don't pay to get that spot.
I didn't know that.
He picks them.
Huh.
So it's interesting that it's like, it's obviously him saying, I like this enough to put it at the end of my award show to like show it off. It's going to be good. But I'm also, from my perspective, granted, my perspective is the same as Just Keeley. So, take that with as you will. But it just looks like it's going to be Concord again.
Oh, you think so?
Because it's the same thing. We haven't heard about it. Like, okay.
I must have been tired by the end of the Game Awards.
I was barely watching at the end of the Game Awards too.
it.
But it's the kind of thing is like, okay, so the Game Awards, December, is when we first heard about this game, now being released late January. So granted, not that much time for us to forget about it, but it's also kind of like, that's not a lot of time for us to learn about it either. I feel like...
Yeah.
And everybody always brings up the example of Apex Legends. They announced it and dropped it the same day, which was awesome. But also, Apex Legends had the benefit of being a spinoff of the Titanfall universe, which is already pre-established and a very popular multiplayer title. So it transitioning to hey, here's a new battle royale for y'all. It's dropping today. People were just like, yup, I'm sold.
Yeah.
So I feel like that goes a long way. Granted, Concord did have the $40 price tag on it. Apex Legends was free. Highguard, I'm not sure.
Yeah, do we think this is going to be free to play?
Let's see. We can just see.
Planned
I
release
believe
date,
so.
5
Add to your
days.
wish list. I believe it is a free to play. Okay, but this is from the creators of Apex Legends Titanfall, so it must be. I mean, I know that doesn't mean it's the exact same team, but it must be people who at least were like.
This trailer says you get horse, so I'm immediately
that.
in.
Honestly is pretty cool.
I'm in.
So seeing this again, so free to play, give us a chance to try it out, but I'm very curious to see what it's actually going to be like.
We should give that a try.
I think we should.
As soon as I saw horse, I was more interested.
You're into it. So yeah,
Because
I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm not saying I want it to be bad. I'm just very curious about
like
it.
it might have a similar reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see that being the case just because I feel like gaming culture right now is sort of not into this style of game anymore.
Right. I mean, it's very much looks to be like a mix of, especially from this trailer, looks like a mix more in the Valorant area, maybe, but in like
Valorant don't have horse.
Valorant don't have horse, but it was just showing us some like close quarters combat and like abilities and wall building.
Yeah, there's like magical stuff. It's
and
not
different
just guns
stuff like
and
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I said there's horse, so there's clearly magic. All
Yeah.
horses are magical. Everybody knows that.
I've seen Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. I
all
know.
horses are magical.
So anyway, will be interesting to see what the reaction to this game is.
Fascinating.
Because like I saw the trailer and I was immediately like, this looks like this is just going to be Anthem again. But
Good question.
I mean, not Anthem. Although R.I.P.
It
Anthem.
could be.
R.I.P. Anthem. The servers did shut down for the final time this week.
Oh no!
Anthem is
You're
officially dead as of this week.
I can't believe they've kept
Or
the
maybe last
servers
week, I
on
think.
that long.
I think it was last week, but still, yeah. By the
Oh,
time of this
man.
release, so interesting stuff. But yeah, I'm especially if it's free to play, I'm down to give it a
I
shot.
think we should
so
just give it a try, see if it's any good.
let's see. So look for our thoughts on Highguard coming soon.
In other news, on the 27th of January, we've got Speedball coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Then we've also got Core Keeper coming to the Switch 2 on January 28th. Also on the 28th, we have Dispatch. This is the other one that I
Yes.
want to talk about. It's coming to the Switch and the Switch 2. I've heard a little bit of buzz about Dispatch.
I've heard a
People
lot.
seem to like
Yeah.
it. So
it seems pretty good. One of my friends, actually my friend Jordan, who recommended Life is Strange to me, texted me about it the other day and was like, "Have you played Dispatch yet?" And I was like, "I have not," but her
Okay.
recommendations are good.
And then another game that I'm now interested specifically because of Jusant, Cairn, Cairn. This is a climbing game. Now, I've heard that it's going to be a lot more rigorous than Jusant. Jusant was very much like a chill vibes climbing exploration game. Cairn is supposed to be a lot more like resource management and survival based.
Oh.
So a little bit more challenging. So I'm actually kind of interested in that. That is coming out on the 29th for PlayStation 5 and PC. Then we've got Don't Stop Girly Pop for PC on the 29th as well. God, I hope that's a rhythm game. That would be the best title ever for a rhythm game. And then just skipping a couple of these other lesser important things to skip to Code Vein 2. I feel like this is, I know you're not interested in it, but Code Vein was really like a shadow hit when it came out. So Code Vein 2 is coming out for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on the 30th. And that's more or less going to close out the month.
Hell yeah. Well, there we go. That's what's coming out soon and for you to enjoy on
Dispatch,
gaming consoles and PCs.
Highguard,
everywhere.
Cairn, Those are the ones
So
that I
there's
think
actually
are a
some
little
stuff,
interesting.
some stuff popping up in
There's
January.
not nothing
There's not
coming out, guys.
nothing.
There's some stuff.
Our take on it last week was a little too harsh. Maybe
And
we
also our
judged
take
a
at the
touch
beginning of this
too
episode.
harsh.
You know.
If we would just read the news and know what was coming out, we would know things. But here we are. But now it's time for the main topic of the day.
And it's a big one.
And it's a big one.
big
And
one.
one that I am excited because I have heard a little bit of, shall we say, wiffle waffling in your opinion on this.
You have. Yes, you
so
have.
I am very excited to hear your final thoughts and review on Silksong.
On Hollow Knight.
I always forget it's
Silksong.
Hollow Knight Silksong.
Everybody forgot.
Fucking butchered it.
They should have just called it Silksong. I don't know what they were thinking. It's not a Claire Obscure, although it could be if they keep making games in the universe. Although I think Team Cherry have said that whatever their next project will be, it's not going to be a continuation of Hollow Knight, which I think makes sense. Like every developer needs to stretch their legs and take a break, right?
And with the time that it took to get Silksong,
It's going to be years, guys. It's going to be so many years.
Expedition 33.
Oh, my God. But yes, so we are finally going to do our final, or at least my final review of Silksong. Jarrett has not finished the game, but I have.
I am still hard stuck at Lace. Granted.
He's stuck at Lace 1, everybody.
There's multiple laces? Oh, fuck.
All right,
for a bad time.
So just a fair warning to everybody and anybody
I
out
played
there.
Ghost of Yotei in the middle of that, so let's clear that up. It's not like I'm trying every day.
This episode is going to be very heavy on spoilers. I'm really not going to treat anything as sacred. We're going to be talking about the final boss. There's going to be basically everything that I think I know about the game, and the caveat to that is I don't fully understand the story of Silksong. So I'm going to be giving my best interpretation of Silksong based on the things that I found, the journal entries that I have read, the dialogue that I have actually come across, and I say that because Silksong is a very big game. There's a lot of stuff that I know I missed. Like I've gone back and I've seen other people's clips and playthroughs, and they're using items I've never seen before. They're fighting bosses I don't even know about, and I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Okay.
I think when I finished my file, I think it said that I had completed the game with something like 96% completion.
Oh, wow.
So there was definitely stuff that I missed. And that means that obviously I maybe don't have the complete picture of what the story is. So I'm just going to be giving my
but you gotta be pretty
interpretation
close
of it.
if you're at
I'm
96%.
pretty close. I think I've got most
that's
of it pretty
good
well
too
down.
for a first pass run in a game.
Right?
To hit, especially that kind of a game.
Absolutely.
To hit 96%.
And it only took me, checks watch, 130 hours of game time. So, I guess that's kind of where we can start things off, is we will do a quick recap of what you may have missed in the first impressions episode, which will more or less get you kind of through Act 1. The game is divided into 3 acts. If you do it a specific way. If you don't, there's only 2. So it could be a short game. Could be a short game, could be a long game. Although it can be a very short game because one of the trophies required to get the platinum is beating the game in under 5 hours. You gotta speedrun it.
So that's just a straight shot run.
You just gotta do a straight
that's
shot.
the worst type of trophy.
I know.
Especially for that game.
I know. But honestly, I kind of think I can do it.
You want to do it?
I kind of think I can do it.
Okay.
I think if I try enough, I think I can do it. All right.
So Extra Life this year is just you running.
I actually thought of that.
Oh, really?
I was thinking maybe if
Is that the thing?
I was thinking maybe if I practice all year, I could actually make a solid try of it for Extra Life. So
That'd be fun.
I
think you should.
People are into that. Let me know.
Thumbs up in the chat,
Thumbs
everyone.
up in the chat. So let's just briefly circle back to what is Silksong, what are we talking about, and then we'll kind of go into the full review from there. So Hollow Knight Silksong is the highly anticipated sequel to 2018? 2017? When did Hollow Knight come out?
That sounds right.
I know I played it late because I had to wait for it to come to the Switch, and that's where I actually got it and played it. So I was at least a year late. But either 2016, 2018's mega indie hit Hollow Knight. Silksong is a direct sequel to Hollow Knight. It was originally going to be just a DLC pack that Team Cherry was going to do for the original game, but they were getting into it and they were like, oh, actually, we have more than enough here for another game. So it became an official sequel, and they worked on it for many, many years, many delays. People were worried that it wasn't even going to come out, and then it finally came out. And I would certainly say that at the very least, if you just want the hot hits for whether or not you should play the game, if you enjoyed Hollow Knight, or if you just if you enjoy Metroidvanias in general, if you like the side scrollers, if you like games that have a lot of exploration and a lot of combat, you might like Silksong. The caveat to that is it is at times brutally difficult. It is at times difficult to the point of not being fun. So when Jarrett says that he's heard a lot of wiffle waffling from me, that's what he's talking about, because I definitely went through like the 9 stages of grief roller coaster on the way to the end of the game. But then I came out on the other side and now I love the game again.
And you're doing it again.
And now I'm doing it again. I started a whole new file before we recorded this episode, like just over the weekend, and I'm already into Act 2, so you can get better at it. The skill ceiling is like that J curve is pretty quick. You start and you're immediately on the climb up to getting good at the game. But if you stick with it, and if it seems like something that you will actually get enjoyment out of, I think you should totally give it a try, see it through to the very end. But there are some critiques about the gameplay that we'll talk about that I think are very valid, that I feel could make the game just truly unfun for some people. So if you tried Silksong and you didn't like it, I get it. I feel like that's a perfectly valid complaint. But if you maybe just got stuck somewhere, Lace 1, if you maybe just got stuck somewhere but you were enjoying the game up until that point, I really think that maybe you could power through and get to the end and maybe still really like it. Because Jarrett, I know you're capable of incredible gaming things. You've played
I put my mind to it.
You've played games and done things that I would never play in my entire life because Blasphemous was so icky looking. I could never.
It was icky and it was
so
difficult.
icky.
It was a hard one. Yes. I mean, yes, I am actually going to give Silksong another run and give it a fair shake, because it came out, when was it? End of September, we said? Yeah, so end of September.
Middle of September.
Okay, so middle of September. I played a little bit of that, and then beginning of October was Ghost of Yotei. Yeah. And so I did fall off of that and then tried juggling the both in between for a little bit, and then I was like, yeah, by the time I got to Lace, I was like, no, this is so hard. But like I told you too, I had a rough start with Silksong.
You did. Everybody does.
Well, yeah. But like, I feel like I especially did, because Dark Souls 1 came back to bite me in the ass, and I just was like, where am I going? What am I doing? And I got way too just like focused on trying.
Visioned.
I did.
Oh no.
On trying to get that very early jump. It's like in the grassy area where there's like that one like really big double jump. And I just, for whatever reason, just was like, this is where I have to go, because I thought I had gone through enough of the side stuff that I had found the only way I was supposed to go.
The area that he's talking about, for those of you that have played Silksong, it's the area above Bone Bottom, where you're coming out of Moss Peak,
that.
wherever it is. Yeah, the green area up and to the right. When you're coming out of there and you're going across to get to what's over there. I forget what all of the names are. This is going to be a really frustrating episode for some people, because I'm going to forget. Shellwood. It's on the way to Shellwood, and is it? Yeah, it's on the way to Shellwood.
I have not made it to Shellwood, so that's probably very good.
Honestly, like, the map is there's so many shortcuts and double backs and different ways to get to different areas of the game that honestly my mental map of Silksong is very in the moment.
Yeah.
Like when I'm playing the game and I'm looking at where I am, I know where I am and where I can go to get to somewhere else. But if you like told me to draw a map, like do a recreation of where I think everything is, it's like when people fill in where they think all of the states are in the US, it would be comedically wrong. I would only have like 2 things right. Everything else would be in such a splotchy disarray that you would be like, this person clearly didn't play Silksong. I did. I just can't visualize the map that way, except for when I'm playing the game. But anyway, so Silksong. You start out as Hornet, one of the primary antagonists, deuteragonists from Hollow Knight. She was a non-playable character in Hollow Knight. She is canonically the sister, if you want to say, of Hollow Knight 1's main character, the Knight. And she is canonically the daughter of the Pale King. There we go. I was just going to call him a worm. He is, but he's the Pale King. She's the daughter of the Pale King and Hera the Beast, who is a weaver. This is important for the story, everybody, so this shit matters.
Okay.
So in Hollow Knight 1, you learn that Hornet is this, like, god-like child of gods, because the Pale King is referred to as a pale being. And in the hierarchy of Hollow Knight's bug realms, pale beings are more or less gods.
Okay.
Now, your understanding of a god could differ. A god that can be killed, I would say, isn't a god, but But I mean, you get the idea. They are godlike creatures that have incredible powers that can rain absolute destruction upon the bugs, upon the common bugs of the world if they so choose. So Hornet, being the daughter of the Pale King, she is also a pale being. You might maybe think of her as like a demigod, because I think it's a little unclear of whether or not Hera is actually, air quotes, divine.
Yeah.
As a weaver, as we will learn in the events of Silksong, the weavers are maybe sort of divine adjacent, but maybe they're also kind of not. It kind of depends on like how much stuff you find in Silksong, whether or not you think they're godlike or not. But she is a godlike creature. She is more powerful than 99.999% of all the other bugs that she comes across. But she is also, killable, but then you come back all the time and you go get your little cocoon and you keep going and you're fine. But so Hornet, being the daughter of the Pale King and Hera the Beast, a weaver, she has the innate ability to create silk within her own shell. And silk can be converted into soul. And soul is the like magical goo that powers all of the magical things around the world of Hollow Knight. And it also is very, very important for Farloom, the new area that you're in Silksong. So the game kicks off with Hornet actually in chains, in a cage, a runic cage to contain her incredible mighty powers. And she's being sort of caravanned by these masked, religious-looking figures. They almost look like nuns or monks or something. She's being just traveled across all the lands to somewhere. You're not really sure where she's going at first. You get to a bridge, something happens. The bridge shatters, the entire caravan falls into an abyss. Over the course of those actions, Hornet is able to escape her cage, all of her captors die, and she wakes up in just shambles at the bottom of this lovely little grove. And when she wakes up in the grove, she just has her needle, which is her weapon, and her cuerpo, her body. That's all she's got to her name. She just knows that she was kidnapped, she was brought somewhere, she doesn't even really know where, and that's where the game starts. You're in the bottom of Mosskeep. Green place. Moss Cavern.
The purists are like, dear God.
And I'm like, I don't know what it was called. It's green.
It was this place that I started at the game, when step one, level one.
And green can describe so many areas.
There's a lot of green in that.
There's a lot of green.
Honestly, just like a lot of like pale, like dirty green or
yes.
Yeah, but like I love the art style of the game.
Oh,
like,
it's just so,
it
so
is
beautiful.
So good. So I'm trying to think of never mind.
No, go ahead.
I thought I had a question.
I want to know what your impressions of when you started the game, because we've obviously talked about your being stuck at Lace, but I don't really know what else, and being stuck at that one part
and just
above
being stuck
bottom.
In general.
But what else? Did you enjoy the combat?
So far, yes. I will say, because the difference from Hollow Knight was very much, in the Knight in that one, you're very much just like, the attacks are very standard. You swing, you have your attack, but Hornet had a lot more timing to it. It felt like you could have just like hit the button and she would just like swing indiscriminately. There was a timing to each one of her attacks. You also had that dive attack with her needle that required some pretty precise aiming to be able to like get right.
Yeah, definitely.
So I took some time to like get that down and to try to learn all of those mechanics. But the early game exploration was pretty fun. Typical problem for me, though, I did get turned around, and that happens, and I'm not gonna like try to sugarcoat that. That's just my bad and problem for me. And
did you get the compass?
I don't think I had yet. No.
Oh, that was
okay. I think that was one of the things that you came up later and were like, you don't have your compass, bro.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
because I was looking at your map and your map was all fucked up, and I was like,
so
what's
I had to
wrong
go
with
like
this
buy
map?
that because I didn't have the
quill.
The quill. Yes.
He didn't have the compass.
Thank you.
He didn't have the quill.
See, I didn't know what I was doing.
nothing.
To be fair, also I didn't play Hollow Knight much either. So maybe it's just these games aren't for me. But still,
maybe
that's very true, real possibility. But no, I liked the beginning of it, of what I had played. Once I started feeling and getting a bit more for the movement and understanding that, like that kind of was making it a bit more enjoyable as well. But I don't really think I got super far enough to be able to make like a huge, like defined impression of what I thought.
I really don't think you did, because one of the most like integral parts of the experience that I think kind of differentiates Silksong from Hollow Knight is exactly what you're talking about. It's Hornet's movement. I mean, her entire kit is vastly different from the sort of equipment loadout that you were capable of in Hollow Knight. So Hollow Knight was based on a system of your magical abilities, basically your mana, your soul abilities, your nail abilities. So the knight had a nail. Your knight had a nail, which is just, your various slashes, your down slashes, your up slash, your nail arts. That's what they were called.
That was the big thing with him. He had the like down strike that would just go the straight down, whereas if you do that with Hornet, it's the angled dive.
And this, I think, is definitely one of the, like when I said that J curve is off to the races immediately, that's really what I mean. And I feel like most players, either coming from Hollow Knight because of the pogo, the down strike that you were able to just go straight down and continue jumping on from there. It's called the pogo strike. That was a super important part of your movement and platforming in Hollow Knight. So to go from Hollow Knight to Silksong, where Hornet by default has a diagonal strike, that's a really hard thing to adjust to if you're not familiar with it. Like, you really have to practice with it to get good at it. And a lot of her other skills are similar in that their movement is wildly different from what you're familiar with in Hollow Knight.
And for some reason, even though, like I said, I had not played a ton of Hollow Knight either, that was just ingrained in my head, or maybe just with other platformers in general, the down, attack.
I mean, like Shovel Knight has that.
That's true.
A lot of
so
platformers
it's just kind of like the
that.
expected movement that I had in my head. Yeah. So, just overcoming that and knowing I'm not going to go straight down, I'm going to go to the side a little bit.
So let's actually talk about that more, because I feel like that initial curve can be really quickly helped by a couple of early game upgrades, let's call them, which are Hornet's crests. So I don't think you got far enough to really get either of these, but the crest system in Silksong is very different from Hollow Knight's system of nail arts, your mana abilities, and the charm system. The charm system was basically just, okay, you've got this huge spread of charms. They all kind of do different stuff. Some of them help you do better magic abilities. Some of them move faster. Some of them are more defensive. But it was just a hodgepodge. And you just had all the charms available, and then you could get a certain amount of charm slots, and you just had to mix and match charms in a way that they fit into the slots and gave you the abilities that you wanted. Like, you could get an extender for the range of your nail. You could get something that makes it to where your strikes on enemies regenerate soul faster or more soul. There are similar abilities in Silksong, but they are pretty different because Hornet's whole kit is divided into crests, which are then subsected into red, blue, and yellow slots, I guess we'll just call them. And those slots basically determine your tools. So those are the red ones. Those are actual tools that Hornet can throw out to deal damage to other enemies. They are the blue ones, which are kind of like, I guess you would call them defensive/offensive. They do a lot of stuff. Blue tools do things like that. There's actually one that's similar to the long nail from Hollow Knight, but there are ones that help you heal twice in one heal instead of once. There are others that help you heal faster, like the quick heal or whatever it was called, quick bind. So that's the one from this one. That's quick bind. Yeah, it's quick bind and multi binder. Anyways, there's all kinds of different defensive and offensive blue tools, and then there are the yellow tools, which are much more like, I guess you would call them exploratory. Those are things like the compass, the magnetite brooch that helps you acquire rosaries easier so that you're not having to go all over the place to gather them up. They just come back to you.
Oh yeah, I did get some of those.
Yeah, the magnetite brooch is really good, especially in the early game where you're like, I don't need to be putting myself in more danger.
Right.
Because
trying to get
I really need those rosaries, but also I only have one mask left, and every early game creature in this game does 2 damage at the cost of 1. It's so much bullshit. It really is. It's so much bullshit. But that's the basic breakdown, is all of the crests have different I guess you would say different combinations of how many of each red, blue, or yellow item you can equip. So for example, with her default crest, it's called the Hunter's Crest. You start out only being able to have one of each. You can have one tool, one red tool, one blue tool, and one yellow tool. However, there are slots available that you can use memory lockets on to upgrade additional spaces on your crest. But depending on the crest, those slots might differ. Like for example, example, there's an early game crest called the Wanderer's Crest, which has a... Hang on, I'm trying to like focus myself. So the Wanderer's Crest is very heavy on yellow slots. It's got like a couple of blue slots, I think, and I think only one red slot. So you can only use one tool with it initially if you don't have the extra upgrades for it. So that's kind of brutal if you're really wanting to go for a very offensive tool-heavy kit where you want Hornet to be throwing out different things all the time, like her nail traps or her long pins or just the straight pins. She's got a lot of different projectiles that she can use to deal really helpful damage, especially if you've got rooms full of enemies, which Silksong really loves to throw at you, and you need to do crowd control really quickly. Her toolkit is really good at that.
Which I feel like was different from what I played of Hollow Knight. Like there was not really a whole lot going on other than the maybe 1 to 2 enemies. But then from what I've seen of later game of Silksong, there are some chaotic rooms out there.
And we'll talk about that. We'll circle back to that.
We'll get to that.
We're going to get back to that. But anyways, my point is Hornet's skill sets are very dependent on the crest that you have equipped. And early game, at least in Act 1, you can get the Crest of the Beast, you can get the Wanderer's Crest, and you can get the Reaper Crest. And both the Wanderer and the Reaper make it to where your downstrike is a much more vertical downstrike. So that's where you get a better approximation to the pogo that you're familiar with from Hollow Knight. So if you're early game and you're really struggling with Hornet's diagonal downstrike, just power through just a little bit so that you can get to bone, like the area that's past bone bottom. You're gonna have to go to the left. You're gonna have to go to the left to get Crest of the Wanderer. You're gonna have to go up and then left and then down a little bit to get to the Crest of the Wanderer. It's in something called the ruined, the Chapel of Bones. I don't know. There's bones.
Am I there? That sounds familiar.
I'm gonna be so unhelpful with remembering the names of these. You might be at it, but so you can get the Crest of the Wanderer really early on. I personally prefer the Reaper Crest because you can get that pretty early game in an area of the map called Greymore. There we go. I got there. I was like, it's gray.
It's a place you can go.
It's a place. It's gray. It's got crows. It's called Greymore. If you go to Greymore and go find the chapel. So anytime you're in the game and you encounter something that calls itself a chapel, just know that you really need to do whatever's in there because it's going to get you a crest. I would say
I definitely made it to at least a chapel, and I did not properly explore it fully.
You needed to progress a little bit further because if you can get either the Wanderer Crest or the Reaper Crest really early on, I think that will solve a lot of your frustration with the platforming and also the combat. Because if you're, trying to jump over an enemy and downslash on them like you're hard programmed to do from Hollow Knight 1, you're going to be struggling a lot with Hollow Knight's kit very early on. And I think a lot of players maybe got hung up on that in the early game.
I think I did.
Yeah.
Like, quite honestly. Outside of the environment exploration challenges and stuff I had, I legitimately do think that the combat just took me a long time to get a hold of, and I don't think I did in the time that I was playing it.
It's rough. And so you can basically, the early game is going to be, I think, the most difficult for most players because you don't have anything in your kit. You don't have more crests. You have so few tools at your disposal. You don't really have a lot of your blue tools to either make the platforming or the combat easier for you. So I think that Act 1 is going to be the hardest part for new players, and then Act 2 is hard for different reasons. We'll get to why Act 2 and Act 3 are hard for different reasons, but really, I think if you can power through Act 1 and make it to Act 2, I think you've got what it takes to make it through the entire game, because by God, I got stuck multiple times throughout the game on fights and on battles that I truly was not having fun with. There were times where I was like, is this worth it?
I feel like that's what I was about to say. I feel like there were times where you were kind of like, this might be too much for me.
Let's just talk about it now because I feel like I wrote a list of cons.
Let's dig in.
Which, to be fair, is actually different from Hollow Knight because I don't know if you recall, I've called Hollow Knight a nearly perfect game multiple times, and I still think that is true. I think Silksong has a little bit more give and take. And the takes, the negatives, let's talk about these. I want to talk about the obvious one first because this is the part of the game that I truly have so little fun with.
Okay.
And that is a category of things that we will call adds. Additional little monsters that are included in bigger fights.
Oh, okay.
A lot of bosses, or even just like minor enemy encounters, do exactly what you were describing, where it is multiple enemies on screen at the same time. There are ones on the ground, there are ones in the air. They often have projectiles. They often have a certain type of movement that I would call slippery, where as soon as Hornet approaches them, they're programmed to pull back. So you're having to do a lot of chasing to even deal damage in the first place. But then you're also trying to defend against multiple attacks from different areas of the screen all at once, and it can get really, really frustrating.
Oh boy.
Frustrating to the point of not being fun anymore. And especially in the early game, when you don't have a lot of crowd control stuff in your kit like Hornet's tools, it is infuriating.
I bet.
It is really, really infuriating. And if you don't know a lot of the movesets of even the little enemies early on, you can get tripped up constantly. I mean, I said that I am on a new file. I started a brand new one. It's only been a few days, and I'm blasting through the game considerably faster than I did the first time around. A big part of that just comes down to I remember the movesets.
Right.
I know what to expect from all of the enemies, big and small now, and that alone makes the learning curve considerably easier. Also, I'm really committed to getting good at Hornet's Hunter Crest this time around, so I'm doing the diagonals. I'm like, no, I've got Reaper Crest and Wanderer Crest now, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with the Hunter Crest, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm having more fun experimenting with it now, but even now on my second playthrough, particularly as you get into Act 2, I feel like that's where it really ramps up. The presence of multiple enemies on screen all at once, either in or out of boss battles, the adds are so unfun. They are unfun now, and they were incredibly unfun the first time around.
Yeah.
There are multiple fights. Like, kind of an early one is the Savage, I think it's called the Savage Beast Fly. It might just be called like Great Beast Fly or something like that. It's the beast that you have to fight to get the crest of the beast.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a big fly. He do big silly attack. He try to ram himself into you. He smash into wall, and then he do little spinny attack, and he come down, and he do that a couple of times. The Savage Beast Fly on his own is not terribly difficult. I mean, you can learn his moveset and get really good at beating him really quickly. Pretty quickly. I mean, he'll still probably kill you a couple of times on the first try just because you're learning the moveset. But then, periodically throughout the fight, no matter if you've killed them all or not, he's gonna summon more. He will do a like roaring cry, and he will summon adds. He will summon smaller enemies into the fight. Some of them fly, some of them are on the ground. They all take up your movement space, and if you misstep even a little bit, one of them is going to get you, or they're dodging them is going to push you into the boss. And he does 2 damage, of course, with every single hit, so you're going to die immediately.
And that's the part where that... I get, understandably for me, just hearing that, I'm just like, oh God, that does sound just not fun.
Savage Beast Fly was not fun.
Especially with a game that requires such precision.
Yes.
It is maddening when the enemies are not contained to that same, like, rules. And they can have, like, you know, because it's like you said, it's all about learning the movesets. It's all about learning the patterns of attack. And you can do that with the big guy. But then when all these extra guys come in at indeterminate times with indeterminate move sets, you're trying to stick to this very precise movement pattern.
You've got your rhythm down,
and they're throwing it off all the time.
Yes,
with
it's
very
annoying.
Unpredictable movements that, especially as like more types get in. Because what's the one? There is one. I ran into a small version of that. There's one room where it's like the guys who have the jars on their head. Very early.
Oh, in Deep Docks.
Yeah, and it's the guys with jars on their head who try to charge you.
Yes.
And then there's also the ones who are flying.
Yep.
Goodness.
I know exactly what you mean.
Those 2 early easy enemy types, not even bosses, were very difficult when combined together. So I can't imagine trying to throw in fighting an actual boss on top of all that.
And it's so funny that you mentioned those guys from Deep Docks, because there is eventually an actual boss fight in Deep Docks. It's called like the brothers Sigmund and Freud. I don't remember what their real names are. We're just going to call them Sigmund and Freud. But they are exactly that. They're just more powerful versions of that same archetype, where one of them, and they will... So in addition to there being 2 of them, So initially, when you get to this fight, I'm so mad about this fight. I
can just see audio listeners. I'm sorry. You just see her just get internally angry.
I spent so much time on this fucking fight. So I spent so much time on this fight, and it was so unfun because it's exactly like that. Like, you get down to this area of Deep Docks. Deep Docks is full of magma for starters, and if Hornet hits the magma, she takes 2 damage immediately.
Fortunately, it's not an immediate kill.
It's not an immediate kill, but you are taking 2 damage immediately. And then you get to the fight, and it's like a little platform. You know, the screen's not that big. It's a little flat platform. On either side are waterfalls of lava. So both of the sides of the arena will kill you if you get into them. You're fighting Sigmund initially, and he's just got a little spear, and he do a little projectile attack, like a little boomerang, and then he'll come at you, and he'll do some little slashies, and then, of course, he's got a helmet on, which means you can't down slash him, because you'll just bounce off of it. So you have to, like, time your attacks really carefully to deal damage to him, not take damage yourself, blah, blah, blah. That's not so bad. But then he spawns ads. So he'll spawn the flying guys that come down from the roof and then throw out their little, like, exploding rocks at you.
Which took me a very long time to figure out you can deflect those and throw them back at them.
You can. And if you time it really well, what you can actually do is push the ads into the magma, but that assumes that you have the right positioning with the first boss on the ground to make that jump safely and not yourself be pushed into the magma. So you get rid of the one ad and you're like, okay, back to Sigmund. But then he'll spawn more ads, and these ones are on the ground, but then there's also one in the air. And then eventually you kill those ads, but then his brother Freud comes in, and then there's 2 bosses and the ads they spawn, and you just have to power through. You just got to power through and kill the one and then kill the other.
You are not doing a great job of selling me on going back to this game. I'm not gonna lie.
It sucks, bro. so the silver lining there is that many of the boss fights in Silksong are technically optional.
Okay.
You do not have to fight these little guys, these little Sigmund and Freud dudes. You do for the true ending, but you don't just to get an ending. So if you just want to get an ending, who cares? Just do what you want, bro. But if you want to get actually to 100% completion, which even I haven't gotten to, you will obviously have to fight all of them. And a lot of those fights are not fun. There's one in Biowater. God, Biowater in general, because this kind of leads me into my next complaint about the game, which is there are much more so than Hollow Knight. Like, Hollow Knight was punishing but fair. There are so many sections of Silksong that feel punishingly mean. Ugh. Like, it just feels mean.
Just hard to be hard.
It's just hard for the sake of being hard. There are so many environmental hazards. There are traps all over different sections of the map. Hunter's March is a great example of that. Then later you've got Biowater, which is full of traps and enemies that will ambush you briefly and then hide again. Oh my god, it's so annoying. And then in Biowater, if you eventually snake your way all the way up to the, like, I guess, civilization where these creatures live, you get to fight the boss of Biowater, who's called Grohl. And it's actually not a very difficult boss fight if you know the strat for it, but you're probably not going to know the strat the first time around.
No way.
So he's one of these fights where he himself is not terribly hard, but he's constantly spawning ads, and you have to defeat a little gauntlet of ads in the first place just to get Grohl to spawn, and then you also have to fight Grohl, and then you also have to continuously manage the ads. And then that's not even the part we're really here to talk about with Grohl, because this leads me into my next complaint about Silksong, which is the fucking runbacks. Somebody posted a meme about this in the Discord kind of early on when Silksong had just come out, and it was about the runbacks in Silksong. Oh my god. Yeah. Some of them are incredibly long. Like, I think the runback for Biowater's Grohl fight, if you didn't know a lot of the shortcuts and if you didn't have great movement abilities on you, it could take you 5 minutes just to get back to Grohl.
And that's hoping you don't die.
Because
for
you
me,
might.
there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
Even if I feel like I'm doing great.
I mean, I've had multiple times in my current playthrough of Silksong where I'm like, oh no, I might not make it back to my cocoon. I think I'm going to lose all of my shit. I'm a pro gamer here. I beat the game. How can this be happening to me?
So you're at that point where you're like, do I either just hit the point of no return and keep going and hope I make it, or do I go back to the bench and rest up?
Exactly. I mean, there's so many times that I've been playing the game that I get to where the boss fight is supposed to happen, but I only have 2 masks of health left.
Yeah, and nothing
And I've got
on your charge
nothing in
filter.
the tank. I don't have any mana, silk thread, whatever. I don't have any silk stored up, and it's like, I'm fucked. I'm going to go in there, briefly get my cocoon back if I'm lucky, and then I'm going to instantly die because I'm already in such bad shape from the run back.
And then just repeat.
The runbacks in Silksong are really brutal. They're not even necessarily brutal from the perspective of difficulty. They are. But my bigger complaint about it is I feel like that runback, it's the time piece of it. The fact that you are having to waste time of your literal life. I have wasted time of my lifespan on the runbacks. That feels bad.
Yeah.
That's a feels bad, man. And it's rough to justify those runbacks sometimes.
Because even Bloodborne, like, you could get back from a lantern to a boss pretty quick, to the boss fight. There were not very many times where you had to like really run through it.
I mean, I don't think that this is a fair one-to-one comparison because it's not a combat-focused game.
Sure.
But like, let's take, for example, Celeste. Celeste's system of you die and you're just immediately right back in the room where you died. You're just there. You respawn right away and you can just keep going from where you left off. I don't think that's exactly what I would want from Hollow Knight, from Silksong, excuse me, but it's just an example of it doesn't have to be this hard.
Yeah.
Other developers have chosen to make it not this hard. In fact, you yourselves, Team Cherry. See, you made this other game previously. It was called Hollow Knight. And the runbacks in Hollow Knight were not even close to as bad as the runbacks in Silksong. So the runbacks are really, really rough. The ads in any boss fight that includes them, or more specifically, any gauntlet fight. So there are a couple of sections of Silksong which are just what I would consider gauntlet battles, where it is just continuous waves of little enemies. And they just keep coming, and they come in obviously a pretty specific order, so eventually you're able to learn what the order is. But oh my god, it's not fun. It is not fun. I do not find the gauntlet fights fun at all.
Yeah.
So, some people do, because I've seen the shorts. I've seen the shorts on YouTube of pro gamers with their beast crest strats and they're just taking out every enemy in one hit, and I'm like, that's fucking nice for you, but that couldn't be me, bro. So it's just like you see that other people are clearly god tier at the game, and you're like, but is it fair to compare myself to these people that I see on the internet?
Who obviously have all the time in the world to play this game.
Who obviously have all the time in the world to play this game. I have a job. So that feels bad. The runbacks feel bad. All of the gauntlet fights are incredibly unfun. The conductor fight specifically, you know the one I'm talking about in Act 2. You don't, but other people do. Oh my god, I was stuck on that one for literal days, and it was days of non-fun.
Oof.
And that's the part that's really rough. So those are just a few. Those are just a few of the complaints that I have. Some of the other complaints that I have.
Opening scroll 2.
Opening scroll 2. This is actually a really specific one because for the most part, I feel like the NPCs and the story and the characters of Hollow Knight are really, really fun. I actually love most of the NPCs. I think their dialogue is really fun. I think their designs are phenomenal. I'll talk more about them after I get past the part that I'm mad about. But specifically, there's Lace, right?
Yeah.
So Lace sort of takes on the role that Hornet played in the first game, where she is sort of your primary antagonist that continuously stays with you through the game. At least Hornet did in Hollow Knight. But that kind of, basically my complaint boils down to, I feel like the pacing of the Lace fights was really weird.
Oh.
Because you fight her early on, right?
Uh-huh.
You fight her once really early on, and then you see her again once. You don't fight her. You just have a quick conversation with her, and then she scurries off.
Okay.
And then you don't fight her again until so far later in the game.
Weird.
Like at the very end of Act 2. And Act 2 is big. Act 2 is maybe not most of the game, but it's definitely the majority of the game for most people that are going to play it.
Yeah.
So you don't actually fight her again until Act 2. And then this one actually is a real spoiler, so tune out if you don't want to hear this. She does wind up being the final boss.
Oh.
So if you're struggling with Lace a lot right now, well, I've got some bad news for you.
You're not really doing
I've got some bad news.
Oh, God.
She's the final boss. It's all right. I'll bring you back to it. I'll win you back to it. So basically what I'm saying is you fight her really early on, and then you don't fight her again until way late. And then you fight her one final time as the final boss. What I'm saying is I feel like she was not utilized enough.
She wasn't like set up to be that threat or that.
I wanted to see her more. I wanted her to be more of a direct antagonist to Hornet, even in like the kind of playful sense, because you get the feeling that she's not evil. You know, she's clearly trying to do something that matters to her, just like Hornet was. So it's like, okay, I see that your character is important, but she didn't feel important until that final
and then you're like,
battle.
oh wait, did I miss something?
And then it's like, oh, okay, so she was, I mean, obviously she's important from the get-go, but it wasn't as impactful as I was hoping that it would be, because when you fight Hornet for the last time in Hollow Knight and then she shows up to help you fight the final boss in Hollow Knight, it's like, yes, this is what I was hoping for. Dream team, brother sister duo, let's fucking go. It's really not that way in Silksong. You know, Lace obviously has a really distinct characterization. I really like her character, but you get to hang out with, you get to know her so little.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could have, like, one more fight. If there had been one more
little
Lace
bit more
fight
exposition
layered somewhere in there, a little bit more monologuing from the villain, right? I wanted a little bit more of that to really make Lace feel like she was super impactful for me.
Cool.
But that's basically the end of my list of complaints. My list of complaints is the ads, all of the gauntlet fights that are just ads, the runbacks are fucking ridiculous, and Lace's pacing, the Lace pace, if you will, felt a little bit, the Lace pace felt a little bit off to me. That's my list of complaints.
So that's your list of complaints.
So that's my list of complaints.
I, for one, after hearing all of those, am 100% sold, and I'm ready to jump back into the game. No, I'm more scared than before.
So let me try to sell you on it, because here's the thing. There are parts about it that I really do not like, even to the extent of feeling like, I think this one's just bad game design, frankly. I think this one's just bad.
Yeah.
But when Silksong works well, which is most of the time, it works phenomenally. When you really get a robust set of tools in your toolkit, when you really start to get more of Hornet's silk abilities that you get from the various Weaver, I guess you would say like tombs that you find around the map, when you really get that fleshed out kit, and you have a ton of variety that you can mix and match to deal with the problems in front of you in a very versatile amount of ways, it feels great.
Awesome.
So I will say that even though some of the fights were genuinely unfun, most of them were really fun. I actually wrote down a list of the bosses that I thought were the most fun for me. Those included the last judge. She's the first like real boss curve that most people encounter. After Lace, quite a bit after Lace. You've made it so
I'll probably never see her.
Probably never see her. But the last judge is so fun. I feel like she's a good skill check. She's a great checkpoint of, okay, you got to beat this really difficult lady that's going to slap you with her flaming, exploding lantern, or you're not getting through the rest of the game, bitch. And I feel like her fight feels great because it feels fair. So the fights that feel really fair, that aren't mobbed by ads, feel incredible. Learning her skill set and figuring out where you're safe to get the hits in, where you're safe to heal, what you can do to actually damage her from a distance with your projectiles, which you don't have a lot of in that early stage of the game. That fight feels great. And notably, when you beat her, you actually feel accomplished.
Nice.
With like the gauntlet fights and the very like ad-filled fights, you're just so relieved that they're done. I feel like you don't even have it in you to feel accomplished. You're just like, oh my, thank fuck it's over. Because it's not fun. But the last judge feels phenomenal. The fourth chorus, actually. I think you've beaten the fourth chorus because is it on the way to Lace or is it adjacent to Lace? It's the thing that you beat in the far field. It's like a big mechanical monster, and it does like this move, and it hits the ceiling, and he drops the stuff on you. The fourth chorus is not difficult by any means. Like once you go back and fight him later, you're like, oh, this guy was super easy. But I just think he's fun and silly, and I love the soundtrack that goes along with him. I like his like crazy conductor arms as you're fighting him. I think he's so fun. All of the laces, so all of the different fights with lace, including the final boss one, I felt were very fun. I was stuck on final boss lace for at least 3 days, but it was that kind of thing where I would try her newly, fresh, with a fresh brain, a couple of times a day, and then as soon as I was getting like rage baited, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna quit. I come back tomorrow, and I'm going to be fresh-minded for this. And we're just going to set some rules. And at the time that I finally beat her, I really did feel like I'm fucking X Games mode here. I'm locked in. I'm in the Matrix. I'm totally going to do it. And it was the kind of thing where you're progressing in a well-designed boss battle in a way that you can see your own progression because you're getting a little bit further in the fight every time before you die. So it's like, okay, I know I can do it. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm absolutely going to be able to do it. I loved the Phantom fight. I liked the different fights with Weavers, which we will talk more about in a second. Loved the Cogwork Dancers fight. One of the most fun fights in the game. The Pinstresses. So you get to, the Pinstress. There's this NPC that is mostly friendly to Hornet called the Pinstress. And if you do certain things to get to Act 3, you can optionally fight her. And it's really just for the chutzpah for it.
Yeah.
You get like an item for her, but it's not a great item. It's just to like prove your mettle against a friendly contest between a learned Pinstress and a learned Hornet. There's a really difficult boss battle that I was stuck on for quite a long time in Act 3 called Carmelita, Scar Singer Carmelita.
Ooh.
She's fun. Like, imagine Pauline from Mario Odyssey / Donkey Kong Bonanza, but that she's an ant queen, and she's incredibly hard to fight. She was awesome. I liked her fight a lot. Those were just a handful of the bosses in the game that I thought were A, fair, and B, really fun and rewarding to fight. Like when I finished all those fights, I felt like, yes, we're doing it, gamers. We're out here. Let's fucking go. All of those various things that gamers love. So I think that if you've got the bug for it, which is hilarious because it's Silksong, if the bug has gotten you, I think you're going to have a fabulous time with those fights once you really get your juices flowing, right?
Sure.
Another obvious pro of the game, stunning soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
from Christopher Larkin. I mean, truly just phenomenal. A lot of those boss fights that I was talking about come with their own final boss music, like the Cogwork Dancers, for example. They have a really great track. It is such good environmental storytelling to back up their story, and then later you can sort of follow that same storyline through to a different ending, or it's not a different ending, a more complete ending. So if you really like pick up on that thread and then keep going with it, you'll get a really nice emotional payout for it. But my pro tip to gamers, that isn't a full spoiler, make sure you free the Green Prince in Sinner's Road. So if you encounter somebody called the Green Prince and he's in Sinner's Road and he's in jail, go get a key. Let him out. Get him
free.
Yeah, let him out, get him free, and then like find him. He's around. Make sure you go around and find him because his story is really, really good. Also, he's just like for a bug, damn, he's fine. You can tell that in the game's like character art storytelling that he's
supposed to be hot.
Unattractive. He's supposed to be hot. Anyways, I feel like the environmental storytelling and the atmosphere of Silksong in general, I think is something that is consistently nailed. Mm-hmm. Every area feels really unique, and yet they all feel very cohesive in the sense that they are all building up to the Citadel, the story point that all of the game is there to support. So through the events of the game, you find that Hornet was initially kidnapped by some choirs, some choristers, I think is the technical word for it, that are servants of the Citadel. The Citadel is the seat of power in the land of Farloom, the land that Hornet has been brought to. And through the course of the game, you come to learn that the Citadel, for all of its perceived holiness, because Hornet learns about the Citadel through pilgrims. She comes across Bone Bottom and she meets a few of the pilgrims that are starting their long trek up the winding path to the Citadel. From their perspective, they are taking on a holy pilgrimage. They are lucky to be able to express their faith in such a way that they might even aspire to someday reach the Citadel, even though they know realistically most of them are going to die in the process. Because of all the bullshit that you have to get through to get to the Citadel.
All the lava.
It's all the lava. There's a lot of it. There's so many ads. There's the Last Judge. First of all, I think it is ridiculous to conceive that any of the pilgrims got past the Last Judge. It's like, I'm going to call bullshit on that one.
They don't even have weapons.
They don't have weapons.
They're just walking.
I don't think any of them got past this thing. If it weren't for Hornet, the Last Judge would still be out there. Oh, real quick. Okay, this is something that I just find incredible. So you get past the blasted steps and you come to the door that opens the way to the Citadel. It's the final gate. Hornet walks up to it, and there are a couple of just little pilgrims in front of it, and they're friendly to you. So they're like, "Oh, hey there, sister. Are you also here to get through the gate? We have to sing a song to open the gate, because the themes of Silksong are very much music and motherhood, and we'll get to the motherhood part shortly. But for now, we're talking about the musical part of it. So one of the things that Hornet can do as a silk skill is play her needle-in as like a little harper guitar.
Aww.
Which is really awesome.
That's cool.
You haven't gotten that ability yet, but anytime that you play the music near anything else that is even mildly sentient or non-sentient, you could kind of hear, they sing. They sing for you. So if you go up to an NPC and you play your needle in, they'll start singing. They'll break out in song.
Cool.
And then you get more context for the game based on what they sing. Some of them sing about their long pilgrimage up to the Citadel. If you got to the flea troop, right? The troop of fleas.
Yes.
They are so fun. Definitely do the flea quests. They are phenomenal. But if you go to the flea encampment and play your needle in, multiple of them will sing in with you.
Oh, that's
and they'll be
cool.
like, all fleas must come, all fleas must join. And it's like, yeah, I love this. This is the best. So that kind of storytelling there is just phenomenal. And then you get to this gate and you're singing your song with these other pilgrims to presumably open the gate. The singing does something.
Uh-oh.
The singing wakes up the Last Judge, and I love how it is framed on screen, because here you are, you're kind of on the right side of the screen, Hornet and these two little pilgrims are facing this locked gate. In the background, in the darkness, in the shadows, you see it's just this little cutout that you can see from the light. You see the Last Judge's lantern light, and just a little bit of her face is visible. It's so horror movie, the framing of it. And then she jumps out of the shadows and she lands on you. She instantly kills the two pilgrims, and then you're in the fight with her.
I love it.
I love that kind of shit.
In platforming, especially 2D side scrollers, when stuff happens in the background and then comes to the foreground. I love that.
It lands every time. It is so impactful. It never gets old. It's like, uh-oh.
Well, because always the background is usually just the background. It's just neutral. It's art, it's atmosphere, it's all it's ambiance. But then when something moves in it and starts suddenly becoming a part of what that you're gonna have to deal with, it's a weird, unsettling, very horror, like you were talking about.
It's fantastic. There are a couple of different times in the game where things like that happen. Like as you're traversing through Greymoor for the first time, there are a couple of areas where you'll hear a sort of screeching scream, and then you'll see a shadow fly through in the background, and you're like, what was that?
Oh shit. Okay.
And then eventually, obviously, you get to the part of Greymoor's map where you encounter that thing as a boss.
Yeah.
It's called the Moorwing, I think. The first time I played through the game, it was so fucking hard. It was so hard. I died so many times. My current playthrough, I beat the Moorwing on the first try.
No shit.
First try,
Hell yeah.
baby.
Hell yeah.
It only took me 3 tries to beat the Last Judge.
Really?
And I was actually quite pleased with myself for that,
yeah.
because I was really fucking it up. But anyway, so my point being, you can get better. You can become a better gamer. You can power through and you can be better. So you get to the Citadel. You open up this gate after you beat the Last Judge, and you've completed the pilgrimage, right? As Hornet, you have gone through all of the steps and all the areas that the standard pilgrims get to, and you get to this grandiose, very fancy looking elevator. Mm-hmm. You get in the elevator, you hit the button to go up. It kind of goes up a little bit, but you can already tell from the environment that the Citadel is looking a little shabby. A lot of cobwebs, just kind of like everything's a little bit dusty. There's not really anybody else around. Like, obviously, the 2 pilgrims that just got killed at the gate, they're not in there with you.
Yeah.
But there also aren't really any other pilgrims around. So you're like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then the elevator kind of grinds to a halt. And then it starts to go down a little. And you're like, uh-oh. And then you, like, hit the button some more. And it kind of grinds a bit, and then it goes down a little bit more. And you're like, oh, that's not good. So you hit the button a few more times, and then just the entire elevator collapses in the shaft, and you go plummeting down to the bottom of the elevator shaft. Once again, Hornet is down to 1 HP, and you have to stumble out into the gray light of wherever the hellscape you are now in the underworks. And this is environmental storytelling, maybe not at its best, because, you know, whatever is best, right?
Sure.
That's a judgment call, but environmental storytelling done phenomenally well, because you have been told by every pilgrim along the route that when they get to this holy place, the Citadel, they're going to be met with, you know, like singing, just choirs upon choirs of singing faithful, welcoming you into the fold. And then you as Hornet get to the underworks, and you encounter all of these lowly bugs engaged in menial, mean labor.
Oh no.
They're cleaning the floors. Like, there's one bug that is, you know, the guy, the one that goes, ooh, oh, when you kill him, you encounter a version of, everybody knows him. You'll know him. You know that guy. Everybody loves that guy. You encounter a version of that little enemy, but this time he's got like a little scrubby sponge in hand. He still attacks you, but he's clearly
with his sponge of death.
He does. He still attacks you, but like he's clearly engaged in just hard labor. There are actually a lot of different versions of enemies that you've encountered before, but they're here toiling. Like, toil is really the word for it. And it's gross, it's gray, it's bleak. There are like horrible chainsaw like gears everywhere. It's clearly just the underbelly mechanics that supports the grandiose Citadel. So you make your way through the underworks, and then you eventually actually get to the Citadel proper. And it's exactly like what the pilgrims described. It is gilded grand halls. The soundtrack, oh my God.
good.
If you look up Choral Chambers soundtrack, so good.
Okay, I'll have
It
to go
really
listen
does,
to
like,
that.
it inspires that feeling of like when you walk into a big old cathedral, it's like that.
Nice.
It's exactly what actually walking into the Citadel proper feels like. But to get there, Hornet had to go through all of these examples of the Citadel's just wanton cruelty. Like, elsewhere in the game, you've been collecting rosaries, right? Which are, you learn through the other pilgrims, a sign of the faithful. And then you get to the underworks, and just to rest at a bench, you have to pay 15 rosaries. And then the bench goes away after that. So every time you want to rest at that bench, you have to pay 15 rosaries, which means that all of these other sad little bugs that got to the Citadel and got to the underworks, they were having to do that same thing.
Oh.
There's a little section you can find that is a confessional, and you have to pay rosaries to the confessional, and it'll be like, we will now take your confession, and Hornet doesn't say anything. And then it just spits out an automated response where it condemns you for your sins, and it sentences you to do like a certain amount of menial labor until your next cycle. It's like, okay, you must toil for 24 hours.
Oh my God.
Until next cycle, repent. And it's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
terrible.
It's terrible. And it is such good environmental storytelling. I'm so about it. And then as you continue to go through the different layers of the Citadel, and you even unlock more regions of the map that you haven't been to before, you really come to piece together this picture of the Citadel not as a place of faith in the holy, but as a place of oppression and subjugation. Because in the quest for total power for the Citadel has slowly, you know this through going through the other regions, has been just brutally subjugating or obliterating its neighboring areas. You know, there was a whole kingdom called Verdania, and the Citadel basically just completely obliterated it. The same thing happened to Bilewater. The reason that Bilewater is so gross is because the exhaust from keeping the cogworks of the Citadel afloat is basically being pumped into the water that leads into biowater, which completely decimated their environment, and that's why it's toxic now.
Jesus.
It's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Sounds like you need to go and destroy the Citadel
Sounds
now.
like you need to destroy the Citadel. That's exactly right. So that's where we're going with this. So I'm going to make a long story short because we're already running really long here. The crux of the Citadel is that the entire thing was created to support/imprison Grandmother Silk. This is basically the Weaver of Weavers. She
Okay.
is the ultimate deity that created the Weavers in the first place. So this godlike race that Hornet hails from, at least in part, they sort of believe themselves to be divine, but they come from Grandmother Silk. You can gather through different story bites, through story beats throughout the game that the Weavers were perhaps not super happy with having to be constantly creating music to serve Grandmother Silk. That was basically her demand. She wanted the Weavers to be in constant songful prayer to her, and they were like, but like, what if we didn't? But what if we didn't do that? So they imprisoned Grandmother Silk in this gigantic silk cocoon at the top of the Citadel. You can basically see the threads of Grandmother Silk's interference all throughout the Citadel because you gather that the hold on her is starting to wane. The Weavers are long gone. I mean, you find a couple of Weavers still throughout the land, but they are for the most part pretty decimated themselves. So this is a kingdom that is crumbling all around you, and the binds that are holding Grandmother Silk are not going to last much longer. So as Hornet, you fight your way to the very top of the Citadel. You have to do a bunch of bullshit on the way. Some of it's fun, some of it's not. You get to the top, you challenge Grandmother Silk. And this is so great because it really harkens back to the knight challenging the Radiance at the end of Hollow Knight 1. Like, the framing is very similar. It's one of those things where you see something form in the background.
Nice.
And then, like, Grandmother Silk arises in front of you in the foreground and she does her big scream and the nameplate comes up on the screen and you're like, oh my fucking God, I'm gonna die. And then you get killed so many times.
Of course.
But it's one of those fights that feels really good to do because it feels fair, it feels doable. You're seeing the Matrix and you're like, all right, I can totally do this. Now this is where the game gets really different because depending on the event, on the actions that you took in Act 2, either the game ends right there or you get Act 3.
Oh.
So there's optionally a lot more game after Act 2.
Okay, so it is all optional.
It is optional. So
I guess that's true. If you could not even get to it.
So let's say that
you.
So actually, this happened to Bro Mogan. When he defeated Grandmother Silk for the first time, he hadn't done the sequence of events that would have unlocked Act 3. So his game was just over. But
See, that would have been for me. I would.
Infuriating?
Yes, because that's kind of how it was with Blasphemous. Because Blasphemous, I didn't realize at the time when I was playing it was going to have like a good or bad ending, and so I played through this game, got through, and it's one of those things too. Same way, you discover a lot about the lore and the atmosphere and everything by exploring, and I did what I could. I thought I was doing everything, and then I get to the end and realized I got the quote unquote bad ending, and was like, the fuck.
Oops.
So like if I got through Grandmother Silk, the game ended, then like a week later, somebody's like, so did you get to Act 3? I'd be like, excuse the fuck out of me? What?
So here's the thing, and this is to Silksong's credit, I think, because you absolutely can get Act 3 through non-esoteric means, meaning that the game actually has like a quest system. So unlike Hollow Knight, which really didn't have a very like super defined quest system, Silksong does. It has a very well-defined quest system. There are all these little side quests that you can go out and do. My advice to any gamer would be you don't have to look up like the cheats. You don't have to look up the hacks on how to get to Act 3. Just do all the side quests. So if you get assigned a side quest, go do it. Go do it right then because you might accidentally do something later that blocks it off. So go do it immediately. And if you do all of the side quests that you have available to you in Act 2, you will get to Act 3. Like, don't worry about that too much. If you do all the stuff that you have at your disposal, you're going to be able to get to Act 3 just fine. Because I rolled credits on Grandmother Silk, and I was so mad because I was like, oh my God, I also somehow didn't do it right. I did.
Oh,
I just
okay.
had to click on my file again. So it rolls
Oh.
credits. You get kicked back out into the file screen. You just go back into your file. And then you get a new cutscene, and it's like, the quest continues. All
you're
right,
like, "Fuck
gamers,
yeah."
we're back. We are so back. You know, it's that meme graph of, we are so back. We're fucking done for. We are so back, gamers. It really does feel like that. So Act 3 does have a lot of other optional content. You don't necessarily have to do all of it to get to the final boss, which is actually a corrupted version of Lace. But yeah, I would say that definitely do it because it's all really, really fun. Not all of it.
Well, I mean, it's
Some-
also it's
some of
more
it-
game to play.
It's
If you
more
li- if
game
you
to
like
play.
the game.
Some of it isn't fun. I'll be so for real. I'll be so for real with you gamers. Some of it is not fun. But a lot of it, most of it, I found to be really rewarding and really fun. I thought that the art was obviously fantastic. The music is just phenomenal. Most of the important boss fights are that good balance of feeling both challenging but fair. A lot of the optional fights do not feel that way. But the game even builds in at least one side workaround to one of the gauntlet battles. So actually, I didn't even do one of the gauntlet battles. There's one called Coral Towers, which you need to finish Act 3 if you want to. But fun fact, there's a workaround. You
have to
don't
do it.
necessarily have to do it. That's why you got to free the Green Prince, guys. You got to free the Green
It all
Prince.
comes back
It all
around.
comes back. It all comes full circle. You got to free the Green Prince so you don't have to do Coral Towers. Anyways, it's a phenomenal game. It is very difficult, especially on your first playthrough. There's probably going to be times where it just feels bad. Some of it feels mean and bad, and some of the fights are genuinely unfun. Those, I feel, are the minority. I think as a whole, the game is phenomenal. I absolutely would recommend it, especially as a game priced below $30.
That's true.
In this day and age, for 150 plus hours of content, what a fucking steal.
And supporting an indie team.
And supporting an indie team, so I think that Silksong is a really good game. I would recommend it to gamers that are maybe up for a bit more of a challenge. It's definitely more challenging than Hollow Knight.
Oh, boy.
So if you haven't played Hollow Knight, but you were vaguely interested in Silksong, go play Hollow Knight. Go play the first game first. And then if you had a good time with that, definitely progress on to Silksong. But I think if you go into Silksong and you're just rage quitting at every turn, there's
Might not be
a
for
chance
you.
it's not worth it. It might not be worth it to you. It ultimately was worth it to me, but even I had a lot of ups and downs with it. So that's my TLDR on Silksong. Great game. Couple of things about it I really, really hate, but mostly a really, really good game.
Hell yeah, you love to see that.
Yes, you love to see it.
But with all that being said, do you think I should give it another shot?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I think
Knowing what you know about
knowing
me
what
as
I
a
know
gamer.
about you, yes. Knowing what I know about you as a gamer, I think that maybe what we should do is actually have me help, just give you a little bit of guidance through that first section of the game, because I think once we really get you up and running with the maps, with the compass, with the quill, and once I finally beat it into your skull that you're not dashing enough when you fight Lace.
is true.
You gotta dash more. It's about the movement. You gotta be dashing. I think that you will maybe, hopefully, I really think, I think you'll have a good time. with
Okay.
it.
I mean, I definitely, like I said, want to give it another shot because, as I said, I was more excited overall for getting into Ghost of Yotei. So when it came along, I was like, goodbye. And then just couldn't stay focused on both at the same time. And then, yes, Lace got really under my skin.
But also, I would say that my other advice still applies. Go back to Hollow Knight.
Yeah,
Go back to Hollow
I
Knight
honestly
1.
did do that before Silksong came out. I did download Hollow Knight again, thinking like, oh, maybe I'll play around in this before this launches. But again, just didn't get to it. So yeah, the games for me have like the interest and it's there. And I did start Silksong and I did like Silksong. I just think now I'm at the point where I can really like dedicate the time that it's going to require to figuring it out and playing it. But all that being said, yes, it still sounds like there's going to be a lot of challenge up ahead, which
Definitely.
scares me, not gonna lie.
It does.
But I do love a good challenge.
You do love a good challenge. And I think that one final thought, at least about the story, because obviously we've talked a little bit about it, but I don't want to spoil absolutely everything. But thematically, I said that Silksong was about music and motherhood. Hollow Knight, at its core, was honestly a story about like fathers and sons, even though the knight had no gender. The knight was technically a genderless creature, but the Hollow Knight
The
was
themes and stuff.
was characterized. No, the character.
Oh.
The character, the Hollow Knight.
Oh, okay.
That the game is technically named after. It's not really your knight. It's this other character.
Oh.
That character is characterized as being male. So it was kind of about the Pale King and his son, if you want to call him that, the Hollow Knight, and then your knight, and sort of how they all fit in there together.
Okay.
Silksong is a game about mothers and daughters, and I fucking love that.
That's awesome.
Because Hornet, the fact that she is a weaver, she has all of this, like, entanglement is such a good word for it, with her relationship to the weavers of Farloom, who, I mean, they're her kin, but they've clearly wrought terrible things upon this land. I mean, they've really made a lot of terrible mistakes, and not even mistakes. They made choices that were really, really bad for most of the lowly bugs of Farloom because they believed themselves divine.
Yeah.
Grandmother Silk is kind of a god, but Hornet can destroy her. Does that make Hornet the new god? These are the questions that Silksong is asking. But it has all these other sequences and segments of the game that really dive into that theme of motherhood and mothers and daughters, and I just thought it was really beautifully well done. I think it tells a much more... It's a lot heavier on its narrative than Hollow Knight was. Obviously, Hornet can talk. The Knight couldn't talk.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, the Knight couldn't talk, so that was just kind of part and parcel of Hollow Knight. So it's much more direct in its narrative in a lot of ways, and I think that serves it really well. I won't say that it's necessarily better than the way the narrative unfolds in Hollow Knight. Ultimately, I think in my personal hierarchy, I would still prop Hollow Knight up a little bit higher than Silksong. But that's because Hollow Knight didn't have so many fucking ads. It didn't have so many ads in battles, and the runbacks weren't as bad.
I mean, that counts.
It counts.
In a game like that counts. That goes really a long way.
So I think Silksong is a phenomenal game. Personally, I don't think it beats out Hollow Knight by the barest sliver, but it is thematically a really nice juxtaposition against Hollow Knight, the first game, and I think that was just really well done, super well pulled off. I loved it.
Fantastic. Love to hear it. Because, I mean, yeah, you love to see it, especially, and it's great with this case with Team Cherry, having the two back-to-back hits. Like, that's great, too. You love to see, like, the first game come out, and then especially when they were like, hey, we're going to really take Silksong to the drawing board and really flesh this out. And everybody's like, okay, that's cool. And then the wait, like, became longer and longer, and everybody's like, okay, we're so cool. But, you know, but then that sliver of doubt starts to creep in where you're just like,
what if it's not
good? What if it's not good?
What if it's not
What if
gonna
it's
be
taking
good?
so long because they're fixing it? And
I
it's
was
like,
very
and,
worried about that.
And so to have it come back and, you know, like you said, not quite beat out the first game in terms of being better or not, but to be basically right up there with it, man, that's a good feeling. Especially then to see, because you put way more hours into this one than you did
many.
Hollow Knight.
Yeah, so many more. I mean, it's just bar none, it's a bigger game.
Yeah.
It's big. There's a lot going on.
So it's just awesome to see. Not only did you get the reward on the having the second great entry into the series, the reward on the wait, but you also just got to see Team Cherry take the blueprint and the plan that they had with Hollow Knight and just really expand it into something else. Yeah. And that's just truly great to see.
It's awesome. And I think Team Cherry has maybe hinted at some additional DLCs for Silksong. There was for Hollow Knight. I would love to see that. Honestly, if there's not any DLC, I won't be terribly upset because it's a fucking huge game.
Right.
And if they're done, like if they feel like they just did all that they could and there's nothing else, I get it. That'll be fine. I would love to see some DLC. It's probably going to be too hard for me, honestly. So if they don't do it, I'm fine with that.
Because this didn't have like a path of pain. Like,
it didn't.
Like the first Hollow Knight
Actually,
did.
I put that in my notes in the cons column. I forgot about that. But so that being said, the Path of Pain actually was DLC.
Oh, okay.
So even though the area that it's nested in Hollow Knight, the White Palace, that was originally in the base game, but that addition of being able to find the Path of Pain, that came out with the Grim Troop DLC. So that actually was not part of the base game.
I don't think I knew that there was actual DLC for Hollow Knight.
Oh, yeah. There were a couple.
Very cool.
So, yeah, I feel like they'll probably wind up doing that with Silksong. I would like to see a Path of Pain because the platforming segments are always more fun for me than the combat segments. That's just personal preference. So I would love to see that. There was kind of a mini Path of Pain in Act 3, but it wasn't...
Does not hold a
candle. It was not the real Path of Pain. Please. Let's just be real here. That was not Path of Pain adjacent.
Very cool. Well, cool. glad to see that you love the game so much. Glad that it was a rewarding time and time well spent.
It came back around. They almost lost me in the middle. But it came back around.
I honestly was like, for a minute there, I was like, oh my God, she's going to drop this. Which
No,
I was shocked. I would have been shocked if you actually did.
It just took a while.
Yeah, but some games you just got to take a step back, breathe.
I did take breaks. Yeah. Take breaks.
Because you were playing other stuff in between.
Yeah, I was playing other stuff in between.
It's not like you were just grinding 150 hours straight.
And I think that would have made it even more unfun. So if you're getting to a point in Silksong where you're not having fun anymore, A, go do the side quests. Stop whatever you're stuck on and go do side quests. B, just take a break. You don't have to throw yourself at the wall over and over again for an entire evening and just waste your life down the drain.
Yeah.
You can just go take a break.
Absolutely. Like you can take a break from this episode.
We're done.
Because we're wrapping it up. And you can take a break until next week when we'll have another great episode for you where we'll talk about, I believe it'll be my Ghost of Yote final review.
Nice.
So come back for that. But you know what? Maybe we should, or should next week be our stream?
Oh,
It's the end of the month. It's the end of the month. My God. Should we do Silksong and maybe I try it out?
And maybe I'll guide you through it. I think we should do that.
We should do that.
Okay.
Because we actually thought about streaming, or I suggested streaming Silksong when the game first came out because I was like, we've been waiting for this. And Mogan was like, no. I want to have pure first impressions with this. And now again, it can come back around.
Yes.
And we can stream it now, and maybe you be my guide.
You've been talking about
Silksong.
starting a new file. I think that's the way we should do it. I can just point you in the right direction. We'll remove something that I like to call the Jarrett barrier.
I had no idea this existed. What is the Jarrett barrier?
It's an invisible barrier in a video game that Jarrett just can't seem to get past. It's called the Jarrier. Please, the Jarrier.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I love it.
We got there, the Jarrier. Oh boy.
Oh boy. And with that, everyone, we will leave you. But also, though, if you have completed Silksong, if you have thoughts on Silksong, things you agree with, things you disagree with in Mogan's review, let us know. We would love to hear from you. And you can do that by sending us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Of course, commenting below wherever you're listening to or watching the show. Join us over on our Discord server and talk about it with us there. We would love to have you. But until next time, everybody, this concludes this episode of Team Chat Podcast, and we'll see you next week for our Silksong stream. So
Yes, exciting times.
we'll see you then.
Bye.